So you didn't like it.
Disappointingly, we only found a teaser, which was 53 seconds.
Yeah.
It's 53 seconds. That's enough to tell me I didn't want to watch the movie, though.
It was pretty gory.
You know what? I feel like the trigger warnings for these ones write themselves, because you're hearing what we hate right up front. This, they like pull a heart out of a goop.
Yeah, goop.
I don't know if the goop was a person, and that was upsetting. Yeah, so...
Yes, welcome to The Abandoned.
Okay, this is payback for last week. I was laughing about all the ghosts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. But not this month. This month is Fall Freakout, and it's me with my unofficial co-host, Michelle Chiang.
Hello.
I guess you're the official co-host for this month.
I guess I am.
This is still not a spoiler-free podcast. This is actually a more spoilerific podcast than usual.
Yes.
Because Michelle will be detailing to me a horror movie that I would never want to watch.
Yes.
From East Asia. We're trying to find ones that are based in Taiwan, or at least made in Taiwan. And we're going to be telling it to you guys. Last week, I scared Michelle by telling her about The Tag-Along, which is a ghost scary movie. And this week, she's going to get me back by telling me about a movie called The Abandoned.
Because Amanda can watch the ghost movies, and I really can't. But she can't watch the body horror, and I can do that.
It's not that I'm not superstitious. Like, if anything happened to me that like started with a tag-along, I would be like church hopping like no one's business. I'd become a Catholic for a day, then I'm a Presbyterian. I'm like, give me the good water.
The guy from The Mummy who wears all the necklaces.
Yeah, absolutely. One of them is gonna work. But like I also said last time, that my biggest fear in the world is a man where I don't want a man or expect a man to be.
Yeah.
And grossness. I hate looking at gore.
Righto. So let's tell you guys about the cultural
necessities. Yes. Is there anything we need to know before we go into this movie?
A few things. Taiwan actually has a pretty large population of migrant workers and immigrants that have come from Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And the title, The Abandoned, is actually referring to that population.
It makes sense. This is a big social problem in Taiwan.
It is. So that is pretty highlighted in this movie, as it should be highlighted in actual society here. Other than that, it is a movie that I had a little bit of trouble with on the first watch, because it is primarily in Mandarin. But a lot of Taiyu or Taiwanese was spoken. And because this movie dealt a lot with the migrant workers, there were other languages spoken as well, primarily Thai, and then also some Indonesian. So it was fascinating. And
for those of you who are outside of Taiwan, like the 10-second refresher on that would be that like Taiwan mainly speaks Chinese. It's one of the national languages, but the other more ethnically accurate language that Taiwan speaks, I think, is Taiwanese, which is one of many different indigenous languages. And if you want to know more about that, you can look at In Taiwan We Speak, which is very in-depth views. And if you want like a little taster, we also have
Taigi Made Easy,
which can give you like a cute like little introduction to a couple of like Taiyu phrases. Yeah. But yeah, so
we're going to jump into a summary. We're going to jump into a summary.
I'm putting it off. Can you tell? All right, let's go. Tell me about The Abandoned.
Before the movie even starts, is you get kind of like those 2-frame flashes of like, there's a picture frame of like a woman, and she's got a horrible, like terrified expression.
Dang it.
And then there's like a 2-frame flash of like this really gross looking tiled room, and there's another woman handcuffed to a wheelchair on its side.
Okay.
On her side.
This is uncomfortable.
It's extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, this sucks.
And I actually had to go back, rewind, and then like pause it in the frame.
You're trying to find what you're seeing.
Yeah. And it just kind of like, it plants the seeds for extreme unease. Okay, so trigger warning, suicide.
It starts with that. It's in that. That's
straight up starts with it. And it's not like, it opens on this woman sitting in a car at one of the riverside parks in Taipei. Yeah. And she's got a gun to her head.
Wild. How do you get a gun in Taiwan?
Right. And she's like sobbing, but then she sees a woman being harassed outside at this in the grass in the park area of this riverside.
Now that she's got the gun.
Yeah. Right. And of course,
I shouldn't say that on radio. Okay, go on.
Of course, she goes to check this out.
Yeah.
And she can't find the people who are running, But she finds a body.
Oh no!
Wedged in between a couple of these concrete block things, and they're pretty graphic with their depiction of these bodies. And actually, I appreciate the biologically correct
dedication
decomposition. Because that is something that I need for suspension of disbelief in movies.
This is good for you.
It's good for me so far. So she calls the police, and then you learn that she's also a police officer, and she was off duty that night. And he's actually the chief of that particular office that she works in. Hints right off the bat that your husband's suicide was not your fault.
Okay, so that's why she's upset.
And repeatedly, she gets back into this car, and she looks at the ceiling, and the ceiling of the car actually has a bullet hole in it, and there's a little bit of there's blood around the bullet hole.
Okay, so we know this is what happened. This is what happened.
Right off the bat, they throw you in on the deep end on this, and they constantly give you basically flashbacks. They're not her flashbacks, but glimpses into the past of her husband. It's just small little fragments of life.
Like looking back, she's trying to look for where it started.
Exactly. And this is carrying on throughout the movie of, glimpses of him becoming depressed. And then the final conclusion of his depression of him sitting, suicide. Very graphic. And then, of course, the aftermath of her standing outside the car with the other police officers just screaming in her anguish.
How terrible. They should not have let her. I mean, if she didn't discover the body, they should not have let her there.
She is a police officer, so I think that she might have special access to this kind of thing, but absolutely.
They should not have done that. Yeah. That was anybody who was like, I'm doing you a favor by letting you see. No, you're not.
No.
No, you're not.
Mm-mm.
You're ruining her life.
Yes. So flashbacks permeate the entire movie, just over and over again. They actually make you look at the suicide again and again and again, and also the romantic scenes again and again and again to kind of drive that home. So that's the undercurrent of it, is her dealing with her husband's suicide.
Okay.
So so they're looking into this autopsy of this woman they found by the riverside, and she is missing her heart. So then they start to track. Who is she? And
that should be your first question.
Yeah, it flashes to another part of town where there's this guy. He's not exactly a snakehead.
Define what a snakehead is.
Oh, yes. A snakehead is a human trafficker. So he helps these migrant workers come into Taiwan. He puts them up for a little bit and tries to find them work once. And he's describing this as he's like, there's a one girl that's newly arrived. He's describing to her. And
kind of like a scalper.
Yeah, and they reveal that this is a very beautiful girl. And she's actually in town looking for her sister who has disappeared.
Oh.
Who then Then it flashes back to the police and they're starting their investigation, and they track the body, the deceased woman, to this not snakehead. And he's dragged into the police station. He's questioned. During the investigation, they have also dug up a lot of other deceased immigrants. These people have been missing or have turned up, highly decomposed.
Okay, so
prior to this.
Prior to this. Okay.
So they're showing him photos and he's claiming not to know any of them.
Yeah.
But of course, he does, because the next scene shows him driving and he goes to see this man.
Like one of the workers?
Freaks out and he says, I didn't kill her, I didn't kill her, I didn't kill her.
Oh, God. So now this guy, this snakehead, this not snakehead, is like, okay, well, she's dead.
She's dead. So
she wasn't dead the last time I saw her.
Something
so
happened.
We know he's also not the killer.
Yeah, he's also not the killer. But you're not on his side.
He's
either.
shady.
This worker that he's questioning freaks out and then escapes out of this dormitory or this farmhouse. And then they're running through this slightly wooded area. And then the police officer shows up.
They figured this out too.
So they all arrive on scene perfectly at the right coincidental moment. And then this migrant worker picks up the gun. He's like, I didn't do it. Nobody will believe me and stuff. He killed himself as well. Now, at this point, there's a new police officer girl who's been assigned to this case, and this migrant worker's suicide kind of puts the police force in a very bad light.
Yeah.
And the police chief is like, we can't have two women assigned to this case, and I got to break you guys up, and we got to reassign you. So he does. And then, of course, this lady cop goes rogue.
The newbie or old hat?
Both of them.
They're committed.
They're committed.
Yeah.
So they then flash kind of sideways back to the not snakehead man taking the living sister around to prepare her papers for working. Not snakehead dude has besties, a taxi driver. So you meet the cab driver, and then he takes her to go take pictures at this like film place. And this woman, because she's here looking for her missing sister, couldn't smile. So, you know, another thing, it's like you hear, as women, we hear this like,
oh, come on, you're so pretty.
give me a
Why don't you
smile.
smile?
Why don't you smile?
You're so pretty. It's such a shame.
Yeah. It just, makes me feel extremely uncomfortable, and it continues that undernote of
Discomfort.
yes,
Related,
all the way through.
tied to gender identity.
The story continues. They're following the leads on this investigation. And in the meantime, not snakehead dude admits that he knows where there's another body buried. He unearths it, and he says, I didn't kill her. I simply found her.
But he wouldn't have turned her in because he doesn't want to be suspected.
Yes, and these are illegal immigrants, right?
Yeah.
So he actually digs up that body and turns it in, and they take a look at it, and she was killed the same way. So it's really grisly, because this one also has been decomposed for a bit. So they're actually very good at capturing the grossness here. And to make a long story short, they eventually unearth video footage of the first deceased woman getting into a taxi cab.
There's the taxi driver.
So the audience is now led to believe that the cab driver is the suspect.
What I just did.
Yes, it's the cab driver.
It's the cab driver.
It's the cab driver.
I knew it.
But it's kind of a red herring. It's not the cab driver. It's the photographer.
Oh, exactly. He would know exactly who they are because he's there working. No.
He helps take the picture of all the migrant workers that not snakehead guy has brought through.
Yeah, so he knows he's in on the scheme.
He's in on the scheme.
Somebody who has to know that these people wouldn't go to the police.
Absolutely. So during this investigation, the sister who was staying with not snakehead guy disappears. And lo and behold, while they're standing there in the parking lot, guess who pulls up? Creepy uncle photographer.
Creepy uncle's like, yo, I'm here. Actually conveniently arrestable.
Yes. Eventually, he does take them.
So 3 of them are there.
Yes.
This is the squad.
Yeah. Beginner cop, lady cop, and
creep.
and creep. And
not snakehead.
Not snakehead and photographer, right? To the photography studio. And the photography studio, he tells the guy to go upstairs and take a look at his work.
So he didn't know that this guy was a freak.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he goes upstairs to this guy's showroom, his photography showroom. And it's all pictures of women who are forced to smile, even though they know they're going to die.
The thing that flashed before you started.
Yeah. And there are lots of them. There's like the walls in this little gallery space are covered with these pictures of women.
Smiles.
And of course, in a cabinet in this place, the guy opens the cabinet and it's all jars of hearts and fingers.
That sucks so bad.
It's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. And it is then revealed that the killer once upon a time had a migrant wife who fed him a birthday cake that had sedative in it, and then while he was asleep, she took him for all he was worth and left. So the guy freaks out because he knows all these women, and he starts to try to kill this man.
Well, like we said, he's not a good person, but he's also not evil.
Feels awful that they're all dead.
He's creepy.
Yeah.
I guess that's the line, right? It's like, he's creepy, but he's not bad. And that is an unfortunate place to live your life.
Yeah.
It's like nasty and creepy, but not bad.
Through some choices, the veteran and the photographer finally go to his kill room, just the two of them, where he's in the process of killing the sister who's sedated via carbon monoxide poisoning. The photographer is killed, locking the two women in the room, but through facing her trauma and choosing to live even after losing her husband, the lady cop breaks a window and saves them both. So then in the epilogue, we see the lady cop finally take her car to the junkyard, place her wedding ring inside, and walk away.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that. You can't keep that car. Wow. This... I would never watch this movie, and I would never want to watch this movie, is what I know.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad you told me about it. Yeah. I will never watch this movie.
It's just it's extremely uncomfortable the entire way through. They did a really good job with it. Yeah.
I feel like this does a good job of like actually getting in the horror genre, because for me, I think horror is like the slow creeping realization of what's going on and that you can't stop it or it's already happened, you know. But also that slow dread, I think those are inexorably tied.
Yes.
However, I kind of like supernatural horror because for the opposite reason, like you're gonna like, the good news about like having jump scares and things like that is that it breaks it up. You at least get like a release of like the ghost pops up
Not a single jump
not in
scare
this.
in The Abandoned. The entire thing is tension the entire way through. Yeah. So where does the fear factor come from on this one? It's definitely, there's a lot of like
societal fears.
Exactly. And fear as being a woman.
Fear tied to your gender. And like a threat tied to, actually, this is my biggest fear. It's a man.
Yeah. Who kidnaps
I'm sorry.
you.
These men, this man was not good.
Nope.
And the other one was also like, yeah, he was creepy, which is still bad enough. Like, I don't want to be with you. But you don't have to be evil for me to want to not be with you. And I think that's a very normal thing. And that's fine.
This crazy person, this crazy old creepy uncle is trying to get you to smile into his photography camera.
Not even that. I think also the telling you to smile thing, I think gets to me because this is the realization of a fear that I think a lot of women have. Is like, you don't know the intentions. That's the unfortunate insidiousness around encouraging people. And I think this also happens to like children too, but like trying to force someone into a good mood or to be pleasing because it makes you feel better is really uncomfortable. And like as a woman, if it comes from a man,
it is
a lot of times it's like you don't know why.
Yep.
And it feels like there's a malicious intent.
Absolutely.
Like, smile because I think you look prettier smiling and you should please me. And like, if that sounds exaggerated, that's probably because you haven't felt that way.
Yeah.
But like there is that. There's also this crisis of migrant workers being in such a desperate situation that like you don't feel like you could go to the police. And any of these people, even Creep, who, not Snakehead, aka Creep,
he can't tell the police what he knows.
He's too scared to tell the police, but he doesn't actually want anything bad to happen to these people.
Of course not.
And these women or these people who are now trapped, they can't go to the police because they're afraid of getting put in jail.
Yep.
And
or
deported. Everybody who's trapped in this situation who's like, we want to help you, but we have no safe way to do that. You know, like there's a lot of good layers here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
with the abandonment of this particular class of people.
So, I guess the photographer was like also abandoned, but I don't like him, so I don't want to read into his abandonment.
Nope.
Everyone's been abandoned.
On a scale of 1 to 10 of being scary, 1 being comical, like those parody ones, and 10 being I poop my pants a bit. Ready? Of all the Taiwanese movies, I had a really hard time finding body horror because it's not really a thing that they do here. They don't really make slasher films.
No, I think slasher films, like for those of you who are listening in Taiwan or somewhere else, I think slasher films are very much a thing of the North American movie zeitgeist. I don't think body horror often plays into Taiwanese horror films. I think if you get into like some monsters in like Filipino folklore or in Thai folklore, you do encounter more of it, but it's hard to find it here in Taiwan.
True.
I think that's also probably why it's more true crime. I don't think it's by itself something that enters Taiwanese horror.
So based on the amount of gore that's in the movie, I would actually rank this fairly low.
For you, that makes it lower.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
I would rank this maybe about a 3 on a scale of actual gore, but in the way that they artistically wove the horror of suicide and just maintaining a certain level of dread tension, I would bump it up to maybe a 6.
I think this is the kind of movie that I would like break my boyfriend's arm watching.
Yeah.
This is everything I hate. This is like,
so would we
disgusting.
recommend this movie?
Oh, I have a lot of girlies in my life that love true crime, but I don't think I would recommend it because I think it's actually like almost too real.
It's too real.
The scary scale for me, I'm going to do like an 8. I think 8 and higher.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like a 7 and higher. Like I'm never going to watch it in my life.
I
so
would recommend this movie based on the fact that it's very interesting to see the migrant worker focus.
That is good.
That's actually a good thing.
I wish it wasn't in a movie where
context.
they were being victimized. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
But that's what horror movie season is about.
Yeah.
And also I think that's the good thing about horror movies is that it can bring like our fears into focus and it can put more attention on things that are not highlighted normally and kind of drive home fears that maybe you hadn't considered. So I guess that in that way it's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's The Abandoned. Now I feel bad.
Oh no.
So the revenge is complete.
Next week.
Next week it will be my turn where I am going to tell Michelle about the bridge curse.
Oh no.
So thank you for joining us, all of you out there, for our Fall Freakout second episode. We have 3 more coming at you. I have been Amanda Stevens, and this has been my co-host,
Michelle Chiang.
Please join us next week here at Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International to hear more during our Fall Freakout event. We'll see you next time.